Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite summertime techniques up here in the Northeast, and that is going to be a drop shot. We're going to talk about 4 tips that are going to help you catch more and bigger fish on a drop shot all summer long. These are some of my favorite tips while I'm fishing a lot of grass lakes, but also places for smallmouth as well. So this is going to apply to a wide variety of drop shot fishing. It is probably one of the most versatile techniques that I've ever used for bass, and there's so many things you can do with it to catch more fish. So let's get right into it. We're going to talk about a few tips here, have you catching more fish on a drop shot in no time. So my first tip when fishing a drop shot, this is going to be the biggest key to catching more fish right off the bat if you're learning how to fish a drop shot. Go with a braided line for your main line. I like 10 to 15 pound Suffix 832 lime green braid so that I can see it really well. And then I'll tie about a 10-foot leader between 6, 8, or 10 pound tests depending on how deep of water you're fishing in and how clear the water is, also what type of cover is around. So typically if I'm fishing in shallower water or for largemouth or around heavier cover, I'll go with a heavier leader up to like 10 pound test. If I'm fishing for smallmouth on the Great Lakes, there's nothing really around, I'll go with like 8 or 6, a little bit lighter leader. You'll get more bites solely because you have the lighter leader and it doesn't show up as well to the fish. The number one thing the braid is going to do is going to allow you to fish the bait properly and know when it's on the bottom. So this braid, I can see what my bait is doing. I'll throw that bait out there and I know when it's sinking. I'll know when that bait hits the bottom. And the biggest key is to keep this bait on the bottom at all times. So you know that if you're pulling your bait and all of a sudden your braid starts going back out, your bait has left the bottom. You need to feed it some slack to get it back down to the bottom. The other thing is because braid has no stretch, it is going to be ultra sensitive to feel everything that's down there, especially those light bites. You're going to get a lot of light bites when you're fishing a drop shot. They're just going to gently pick it up. It's going to feel like you're stuck on the bottom, stuck in some grass, or like you are snagged on the bottom. It'll feel like mush. When you feel that, you can set the hook a lot better. It feels more spongy on fluorocarbon or even mono, but if you have the braid, you have that direct connection and can really feel what's going on down there. The second tip that I have for fishing with a drop shot, this is going to apply more to largemouth or when you're fishing around grass. I always use a Gamakatsu size 1 split shot drop shot hook. That's like my go-to hook for a drop shot. I like to just have the open hook there, and then that is my way that I usually fish it. Well, when you're fishing around the grass, it'll get all hung up in the grass and you can't fish it properly. But I'm not talking heavy grass. I'm talking when the grass tapers out and the edge ends, there'll be a little fringe edge that's only 6, 10, 12 inches tall. You can make a drop shot leader that's higher than the grass so your bait floats above the grass and fish it on that fringe edge and catch those fish that are waiting right on the edge of the grass for bait to come by, and they'll come out and get it. However, you'll still get hung up on that little grass edge out there. So the number one thing that I do, I take off that Gamakatsu split shot drop shot hook and I go to a RoboWorm rebarb hook. These allow you to Texas rig your bait so that your bait will come through any grass that's down there on the bottom. I will literally fish this in the same areas that I would fish a Texas rig. You can flip, instead of flipping something to the edge of the grass, you can flip this drop shot and let it sink down the edge of the grass edges. That just overall will allow you to come through a lot of cover much better using this little Texas rig hook right here. And then my number 3 tip for this, paired with this hook right here, if you use a stick weight instead of a ball weight, they make different kinds. You can have the teardrop shape, you can have the stick shape, and you can have the ball shape. If you use the teardrop or the ball shape, if you're fishing it through grass, sometimes that ball will get clumped up in a ball of grass and you'll be pulling grass and it won't feel natural. If you throw this stick weight, it'll fall in and out of the grass and it pulls through much more natural and will allow you to get more bites while you're fishing your worm down there. Much more natural, much better action, comes through the grass a lot easier. You're not going to fight pulling it through the grass. Oftentimes a lot of my bites, I'll be pulling it against the grass and I'll just feel the weight break free and let it fall back down. If you're fighting that weight through the grass, it's going to make it look unnatural. It's going to pop free and shoot 10 foot off the bottom and then come back down, and that's not what a bluegill or other bait fish look like down there. So going to the stick weight will get you more bites, coming through the grass more natural. So the last tip, we're going to head out on the water. We're We're gonna show you how to fish this thing, and we're gonna talk about the number one kind of mistake that I see with guys fishing a drop shot. It's a common misconception and way that a lot of people like to fish this. We're gonna show you a little way to adjust your fishing presentation to catch more fish on this. All right, so now that we talked about the setup, everything you need to know about fishing a drop shot, we're fishing a shell bar here, so we are going with the open hook. This is just a big hard spot that we found. There's a lot of bait here. There's a lot of fish on this spot. Hopefully we'll catch one, but if not, we kind of already wore them out a little bit here. The number one thing you don't want to do, everyone when they fish a drop shot shakes their rod a whole bunch. You shake the rod tip, you're trying to shake that worm and everything and make it have action. This worm is going to have action without you shaking the rod. When you shake the rod, you're going to be picking this bait up off the bottom without you knowing it. It's going to be moving all kinds of erratic and crazy. This worm's going to be going crazy like this. It just doesn't look natural to the fish. So what we're going to do instead is when we throw this bait out there, we're just going to drag the rod, almost fish it like a Carolina rig, and you're going to catch more fish with it. So we have our hard spot right here. We're going to go ahead and throw our worm out there. We're going to let this sink down to the bottom. Now, number one, like I said, number one thing you don't want to do is throw it out there, reel up your slack, and shake your rod tip like this. That's just going to make your bait look crazy and unnatural. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this thing hit the bottom. I'm watching my braid. I know that that just hit the bottom because my braid laid slack on the water. I have this high vis braid so I can see it. Now you can either pull it to the side like this, or you can pull vertically over your head. Either one works. All you want to do is just slowly pull the rod like you're pulling your slack out of your line, or like you're feeling the bottom, or if there's a fish on the end, rather than trying to work the bait. So I'm just slowly pulling this towards me with my rod tip, and I can see I'm stuck there in the grass. So since I was stuck in the grass, like I said, you can fish your bait more effectively. We're actually going to grab my Texas rig one, and we'll show you it'll come through the grass a lot easier. So now, like I said, I grabbed my Texas rig one. We know there's some grass here on the edge of the shell bar. Instead of me getting stuck in it with that open hook, I can now throw my drop shot out there and it won't get stuck in that grass. And I'm still going to pull it through the grass like I was talking about. You still don't want to shake your rod. You just want to pull it through the grass. You'll naturally feel that weight break free from the grass. That stick weight's going to allow it to come through. Texas rig hook going to make sure you're not getting stuck in the grass. And I'm just slowly pulling this, as slow, like gently pulling it, like I'm lifting up to feel if there's a fish on the end, see if there's anything there. Now I'm in the grass. I can feel them in the grass. You don't want to rip it free. All I'm going to do is reel up tight to it, keep pulling on it. And now I can tell that I have too heavy of a weight as well. So that's the number one way to tell if you have too heavy of a weight. When you throw it down there, if it gets stuck in the grass that heavy, your weight is going way too far down into the grass, and it's going to ball up in that heavier grass. So instead, I would go to a lighter weight. I'm just going to throw it out there a little bit further out onto the shell bar. So now, one last time, we're going to throw it out there. Again, lime green braid. I'm watching this thing sink. I can still see my line going out. Still see it going out. Now it's laid slack on the water. So now I'm good to go. All I got to do is lift up, see if anything's on there. I can feel it dragging across those rocks. And we got one. Oh, he came off. That's as easy as it is though. You just drag it on the bottom like that. Make sure you get a good hook set. I did not have a good hook set there. You can see my rod was way up here. That's another tip when you're fishing this. You don't want to get your rod behind your head. When I got up about 45 degrees, I should have reeled back down and felt for that fish rather than keep pulling up and set the hook too high up like that. Didn't feel like a big one, so no loss there, but that's the easiest way to fish a drop shot and catch a bunch more fish. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video talking about how to catch more fish on a drop shot. These 4 tips have helped me catch many more fish while I'm fishing a drop shot, and it's probably one of my favorite baits of all time. It is literally the most versatile bait I've ever used. You can catch smallmouth, spotted bass, and largemouth on it. You can fish any type of cover. You can fish anywhere, no matter how tough the fishing is, it will catch fish. So if you enjoyed today's video and want to see a new drop shot bait that's out that will work awesome on this rig, go and check this video out right here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks for watching.